Hello and welcome back, dear students. Wish you all stay happy, healthy, and safe at home and do your studies regularly and properly. I'm Yojna Parak, and today we are going to see a chapter for Standard 9 students from your English textbook Moment, that is your supplementary reader. From this book, we are going to see fifth chapter. The name of this chapter is The Happy Prince. This is the second part of this chapter. First part has already been done. In that we saw that how that after the death of that prince, the people of that city, of that town, built a statue on the tallest column, and the statue was made of gold, and it had sapphire in his in his eyes and ruby in his sword hilt. And then once a swallow bird was flying to Egypt, but he got tired and he sat in that city at the feet of that statue. And some drops fell on him. He looked upward and he saw that the happy prince was crying. So when he asked him, the happy prince replied that he cannot see the misery of people. He get pity on them, but he cannot help them because he is fastened to that pedestal. And then he requested that swallow to be his messenger just for one night and to help people. So once that swallow denied because he wanted to go to Egypt to meet his friends who had already flew to Egypt few weeks ago. But then when he saw the pain, the grief, the sorrow of the happy prince, he agreed, and he went to the to help those poor people as the happy prince commanded. And after helping him at the night, he felt very happy, and then he felt asleep. After that, in the next morning, now we are going to see he was very happy that now he can go to Egypt and have fun with his friends. The rest of the part we are going to see in this second part. So let us begin it. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on the top of the church steeple. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. "Have you any commissions for Egypt?" he cried. So, very happily, loudly, he asked the happy prince, "Do you have any commission for Egypt?" "I'm just starting. I'm just about to go to Egypt. So, I'm going to start my journey." "Swallow, swallow, little swallow," said the prince, "will you stay with me one night longer?" "I'm waited for in Egypt," answered the swallow. Now again, that swallow want to fly back to Egypt to his friends. But when he was about to start the journey, first he came to that happy prince and asked him if he had any commission for Egypt, if he want to tell anything, if he want to command anything. So the happy prince replied, "Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you stay with me one night longer? Can you stay with me just for one night more?" Then the swallow replied that I am being waited in Egypt. My friends are waiting for me. I have to go to Egypt. Steeple, that is high tower of the church. So in the beginning of the day, in the morning, he was wandering. He was flying over all the city. He visited all the monuments which were set in that city, and then for long time he sat on the top of the church tower. So he was very happy that he is going to Egypt, but when he came back to the prince. The prince again requested him to stay with him for one night longer. Then the swallow replied him that I am being waited for in Egypt. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is a bunch of withered violets. Garret, that is small dark room at the top of the house. Withered, that means worn out. Violet, that is kind of flower. So now the prince requests the swallow, 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 little swallow. Far away across the city, I can see that there is a man in a garret in the top floor of the house, in a small dark room. He is living at the top of the house. He is leaning over a desk covered with papers. His head is on the desk, and that desk is covered with papers, and in the glass by his side there is bunch of withered violets. What this refers, that those flowers have not been changed, even he did not get time to water them. That's why those flowers have gone dried up. His hair is brown and crisp. That means he did not even get the time to take bath and to dress up well. He is sitting there since long and trying to finish his work. And his lips are red as pomegranate. His lips also had gone dried. And he has large and dreamy eyes. In his eyes, there are dreams. He is creative, innovative, but he cannot fulfill his dreams. That is why he is upset and leaning over that desk. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater. Now he is writing a drama and wants to finish. He is trying to finish it for the director of the theater. But he is too cold to write anymore. Here there is no fire in the garret, and hunger has made him faint. That is why he is leaning over the desk. So pomegranate, that is a fruit, faint, that is weak, and grate, that is fireplace. Now he is poor and he does not have money to even buy the wood for fire, and he is living in that small dark room. He is suffering from that cold and hunger, and that is why he has gone faint. He has gone weak, and that is why he is lying over that desk. But he has willingness, he has dream to complete his work so that he can earn some money and he can get the fame. But he cannot do so because of he is feeling hungry and he is feeling cold. So he does not have money, he does not have got time to even dress up well or to take some rest. He is trying to complete his work, but that even he cannot do because of the cold. So he was in problem, he was in trouble, and he was suffering a lot. I will wait with you one night longer. When the swallow heard that the man was in trouble, the man was in problem, he was suffering, so the swallow said that, okay, I am ready to be with you for one night more. Who really had a good heart. That swallow also had a good heart, just like that happy prince. He asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright. So then that swallow asked that, do you have another ruby that I should give that playwright? Playwright, that is the one who write the play. Alas, I have no ruby now, said the prince. Now I don't have any ruby. My eyes are all that I have left. Only I have my eyes. They are made of rare sapphire, which were bought out of India 1,000 years ago. So this uh, sapphire has been bought out of India 1,000 years ago. That the precious thing I have for my eyes. Now you can take it and give this to the playwright. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood. After selling that sapphire to the jeweler, he will buy firewood, and then he will get some warmth, and by the rest of money he can buy some food also, and can satisfy his hunger. And finally, in the warm atmosphere, after filling his hunger, he can do his work and he can complete his play. "Dear prince," said the swallow, "I cannot do that." And he began to weep, he began to cry, because he could not take the eye of that happy prince. "Swallow, swallow, little swallow," said the prince, "do as I command you. If you want to help me, please do as I tell you." So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to the young man's garret. It was easy enough to get in, as there was a hole in the roof. Through this he darted and came into the room. The young man had his head buried in his hands, so he did not hear the flutter of the bird's wings. And when he looked up, he found the beautiful sapphire lying on the withered violets. Darted, that means pushed himself inside. Now, when that prince requested to that swallow, the swallow finally agreed, and it plucked out the eye of prince and flew away to that young man's garret. And it was easy for him, it was easy for that bird to get in the garret, because there was a hole in the roof. In the garret, there was no window, and the gate was also shut. So there was a hole in the roof through which that swallow entered in his room. And the man had buried his head under his arms, so he could not hear the sound of birds' wings. But when he looked up, he found that a beautiful sapphire was lying on the withered violets. Now, with this condition, few things that you can notice. First thing, that he was so poor that he was living in a dark, small room. There was no proper light, and the weather was too much cold, but he did not have the money, so he could not buy firewood, and he was suffering from cold. And as he did not have money, he could not buy food for him, so he was suffering from hunger. And because of that, he could not pay attention to his writing, and he could not complete his play. And as he could not complete his pay, he did not get money, and that is why he was suffering from this kind of things. And even he did not have money to repair his roof. He was living in such a bad condition. So by that you can understand that how poor he was, and was suffering from so much pain and trouble. "I'm beginning to be appreciated," he cried. "This is from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play." And he looked quite happy. Appreciate, that means to praise someone. So when he saw that sapphire, for once he could not understand that how it came, because he did not see that swallow. Then he thought that this might be a gift given by one of my admirer, one who felt that I am deserving for this, and one who would have liked my work. So now I feel that people are liking my work and they are appreciating me, they are admiring me. So some of my admirer who like my work would have given me this. Now I can finish my play. By selling this precious stone, I can get some money and I can buy firewood, I can buy food, and even I can get proper light and I can repair my roof also. By this sapphire, my life would become better, and with that comfortable situation, I would be able to complete this play also. So he thanked his admirer for appreciating his work, and he looked very happy. The next day, the swallow flew down to the harbor. Harbor is the seaport. He sat on the mast of a large vessel and watched the sailor working. I am going to Egypt, cried the swallow, but nobody minded. And when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. Now, the next day, Swallow was flying over the harbor and he sat on the mast of a large ship and was watching the sailors working. As they were moving from one town to another, he was also very much excited and happy that finally he is about to leave this place and will go to Egypt. So, in that excitement, in that joy, he cried loudly and he said, I am going to Egypt. Finally, he was about to go to Egypt. But nobody minded because it was just a swallow and it could not shout that much loud. So, nobody could hear it and even nobody minded it. And when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. I have come to bid you good-bye, he cried. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Will you not stay with me one night longer? It is winter, answered the swallow, and the snow will soon be here. In Egypt, the sun is warm on the green palm trees, and the crocodiles lie in the mud and look lazily about them. So the weather in Egypt is so warm and pleasant. But soon here it will start snowfall and I cannot stay in winter. I cannot bear cold. So I have to move to the Egypt. In the square below, said the happy prince, there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring home some money, and she is crying. She has no shoe or stockings, and her little head is bare. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her, because now, on the next day, when that swallow was about to leave that place and was going to Egypt, he finally came to that happy prince and bid him goodbye. But the prince again made the request to the swallow to stay there for one night longer and be his messenger. But the swallow said that here soon winter will start and I cannot survive in winter. But the weather in Egypt is warm and pleasant, so I wish to go there. Then the prince exclaimed the reason why he wanted that swallow to stay with him. So he said that in the square below there is a little girl who sell matches, but by mistake her all the matches have fell in gutter, and now those matches have gone wet and there is no use of those matches. But she is crying because her matches have fallen in gutter, and she is afraid also that her father will beat her. She does not have shoes or stockings and she is standing there in the cold. Her little hair is also bare. She does not have covered her head also. Please pluck out another eye and give it to her, and her father will not beat her, because when her father will see that she has bought sapphire, the precious stone. He will get happy and will forget about matches and will not beat her. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, because now he started liking doing good with other people, helping other people, and he felt joy after helping them when he saw their happy faces. So again, when the prince exclaimed him the pain, the sorrow of that little girl, the heart of that swallow melted because he was also of kind heart. He was also a good hearted. So he decided that he will stay with prince one night longer and will help the people of that town. But I cannot pluck your eye. You would be quite blind then. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Do as I command you. So he plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down. With it, he swooped past the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. What a lovely bit of glass! Cried the little girl, and she ran home laughing. Swooped, that means fly very low, at a low height, because that girl was standing on the surface at the bottom. Now, when the prince requested to pluck the eye, the another eye of that prince, so the swallow denied, because if he will pluck another eye of that prince, the prince will be blind and will not be able to see anything after that. So the prince requested him to do as he commanded. So finally the swallow had to pluck out his another eye and the sapphire he plucked, and quickly he flew towards that little girl and he slipped that sapphire into her palm. The girl became happy when she saw that lovely bit of glass. She could not understand what it was, but she liked it. And she ran to home laughingly. She was very happy after getting such a beautiful stone. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said. So I will stay with you always. No, little swallow, said the poor prince. You must go away to Egypt. No, I will stay with you always, said the swallow, and he slept at the prince's feet. Now, when that swallow came back and he saw that now prince does not have eyes and he has become blind, and now that prince won't be able to see the misery of his people. So the swallow decided to help the people, to help that prince. He will stay with the prince always and he will not go to Egypt. The prince requested him to go to Egypt because he didn't want that swallow to suffer in the cold. Only he could not see the pain of his people, so that is why he requested him to help those people. But now, as he is blind, he cannot see the pain of his people, so he won't trouble that swallow. So he requested that swallow that now you can go to Egypt. But that swallow said that he will stay with the prince for always, because he wanted that prince to be happy. Actually, he wanted to help that prince, he wanted to help his people, because now when he started doing good with other people, he felt good in his heart. He was happy to do such kind of deed, and he always wanted to do uh, this kind act to help other people. That give him the real happiness, and that is all what that prince wanted. So he decided that he will stay with the prince always. And then he slept at the prince's feet. All the next day he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange land, because that land was strange for him. He was not uh, living in that town. He had came from another place, but he had just took a stay for just a night in that town, but now he had stayed in that strange town for always. So that town was strange land for the swallow. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of man and woman. There is no misery so great as there is no mystery so great as misery. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. Now the swallow sat on the shoulder of that prince and told him the stories of what he could see in the strange land. As the prince had gone blind, so he was not able to see the misery, the pain of his people, but he wanted to help them. So the swallow was helping the prince and was telling everything whatever was happening in that strange town. So the prince requested the swallow, dear little swallow, you tell me the marvelous things. यहाँ की सबसे अच्छी बात मुझे बताओ. The thing which is great here. But more marvelous than anything is the suffering of man and woman. For me, the most important thing would be to know the suffering of man and woman of my town, because there is no mystery so great as misery. You can never know from where this pain comes, for how much time it will stay, how much pain it will give, and where it will go. So, this is a mystery. No one can know about this and no one can solve it. So I want to know their misery. I want to understand it and I want to solve this mystery of misery, of pain. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry and in their beautiful houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into dark lanes and saw the white faces of starving children looking out listlessly at the black streets. Under the archway of bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. Now the prince requested the swallow to fly around the city and tell him whatever he see. The most interesting thing, the most important thing for the prince was to know about the misery, about the pain of his people. So for to know about their pain, he sent the swallow to fly over the city. Now the swallow was flying over the great city and he saw that rich people were making merry, were enjoying their life, and uh, the poor people were sitting at their gate. But they did not pay any attention to those poor people, they did not share anything with those poor people. The rich were happy and poor were very sad, and no one was trying to help each other. They were all selfish. He flew into dark lanes, galiyan, and saw the white faces, dull faces, pale faces of starving children who were suffering from hunger. Looking out listlessly, they had no hope at the black streets. Now the streets were black, and the same way they could see their future also black. They had no hope and they were listless. Under the archway, under the bridge, the curve of the bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms. They had no warm clothes, so to keep themselves warm, they were squeezed in each other's arm. How hungry we are, they said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman, and they wandered out into the rain. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it off, leaf by leaf, and give it to the poor. The living always think that gold can make them happy. Now, when those two poor child were lying under that archway of that bridge, but the watchman did not allow them to sit there. Now they did not have any warm cloth to cover themselves, and because that watchman did not allow them to sit there, so they had to wander here and there in that cold weather in the rain, and they were suffering from cold, from poverty. So that swallow came back to the prince and told him everything, whatever he had seen. Now that prince said that I am covered with gold, although all the precious stones I have always given, but now I have gold. I am covered with thin, fine leaves of pure gold. So pluck it one by one and give these leaves to poor people, because these living people always feel that gold can make them happy. Now he is taunting to those rich people, because those rich people think that because they have gold, that means they can make merry, and those poor people who do not have money cannot live happily, and they even do not want to share their gold, do not want to share their money for the needy people. So he said that those living people feel that gold can make them happy, but I am died, and I know that I had so much money, but that money could not make me happy. When I help these people, then I feel happy. So I don't need this gold. Give this gold to poor people. At least this gold will be usable for them, and they can be happy, they can use it, and they can survive their life. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. Now all the leaves had been given to poor people, so they can manage their living, they can get some money, and can survive. So the prince did not need that gold, so he distributed all the gold, all the money he had to those poor people. Now the prince was looking dull and grey, statue made up of cement only, had no precious gold or stones. Leaf after leaf of the fine pure gold was given to those poor people, and the children's faces grew rosier. Now they became happy. The prince became grey, but the children who got that gold, sapphire, and ruby were happy now, and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now. Now we have some money, and by this money we can get some food. Here, bread refers to the food. They cried. When they got the gold. By selling it, they will get money, and by that money, they can buy some food for them. So they were happy that now they won't have to suffer in starvation, and they can fill their stomach, and now they will have food. They were happy, but now, day by day, the weather was getting colder. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost. The streets looked as if they were made of silver. Everybody went about in furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He loved him too well. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. The weather was getting colder, and the swallow could not survive in cold weather. But still, just to help that prince, just to help those people, he was staying there. Now, the streets looked as if they were made up of silver because all the streets were covered with snow. Everybody went about in force in warm clothes. Little boy wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. There was layer of ice on which you can skate. The poor little swallow grew colder and colder, but he would not leave the prince. He had decided that he will be with the prince. He will not leave him. He loved him too well. He started loving that prince, the human love, the kind love. He picked up crumbs outside the baker's door when the baker was not looking. So he also wanted some food to survive. So in that cold region, he needed some more calories. But he could survive on some crumbs of bread. When the baker was not looking, he would take those crumbs, because if the baker would see him, he won't allow him to eat those crumbs even outside the door. They were very selfish and miser, and tried to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. When he could not bear the cold, he was trying to keep himself warm by flapping his wings. So by burning his energy, he might would get some warmth. So now they were trying to solve other people's problem, to make other people happy, to reduce their suffering. But in that, they had to run into trouble. Now the prince, the beautiful golden prince, had gone dull and grey because all the precious things he had given to those poor and needy people. And now he could not see anything, but still he wanted to help them. So the swallow helped those people and that prince also. And for their help, that swallow stayed in that cold place. Even though he was not able to survive in that place, still for their help, he stayed there and had to suffer a lot. He could not even feed himself properly, and he could not cover himself in that cold weather. So he was suffering from cold and hunger. But still, they were trying to help the other people who were needy. So, in this way, even after so much suffering, even after so much trouble, they still remained on their kindness. They still wanted to help other people, they still wanted to do such kind acts, to do such good deeds. So, here we come to an end of the second video. Now we will meet in the next video and we will see what happens next to the swallow and that happy prince. What would be the end? The climax we will get to know in the next part. Thanks for now we will meet in the next video. Till then, take care of yourself, be safe and keep on reading. Thanks for being with me. See you.